A warm welcome to A Podful of Saints +1. This is on Series 2, Episode 5, with myself, David Tavener. Camera's not showing on me here. Hope it is where you are. Jacob Ellacott. Say hello, Jake.
Hello, everyone.
And Lee Wood as well. Afternoon, Lee.
Afternoon, Tav. How are you, mate?
Very well, thank you. Still bouncing around after yesterday's excitement. Oh, no, I wasn't there. But we're going to get on with Saturday's game in a moment. But first of all, do you mind if I say a little tribute to a postman, a milkman who passed away yesterday, very sadly, at the age of 90. Well, he was a milkman at one time. He went on to star in one or two films. Sean Connery. He played at Clarence Park in 1959. So I hope my camera is working because there's a programme from the game. It was a charity game there, as you see. So there we are. We've been graced with the great down the years. That programme actually said Irishman Sean Connery. Of course, he's born in that Irish stronghold of Edinburgh.
Tavs, sorry, mate. That is absolutely amazing. Who else was playing on the Showbiz 11? Anyone that we'd had heard of?
Well, you probably were, Lee, surely.
Well, not everyone's as old as you, mate. So, you know, we have to rein it in a little bit.
The names, you're not really going to know them, Lee. It's before your time. But in the football time, Pat Welton's side. Pat Welton was coach at City for quite a while, actually, for a couple of years. Ron Greenwood.
Excellent.
Ron Burgess. Anybody else called Ron? Peter Lorenzo, you won't know. Very famous reporter and commentator, God knows what. Anyway, the crowd 7,500.
Bloody hell.
That's
As I say, in that,
it
said he was Irishman, Sean Connery, which is about as good as the NLP yesterday. For Burgess Hill report against Harrow Borough, he said, Harrow Borough, the visitors from Hertfordshire.
Close enough.
Right. Have you seen anything about yesterday's game, Lee?
I watched it, mate. Yeah, I watched it live.
Oh, you did on the Gogglebox thingy.
I did.
We're recording this on Sunday lunchtime. Jake was there, so we'll start with him.
Thank you. It wasn't the greatest game, was it, actually, on reflection? The Saints...
It's dreadful.
Yeah, but the Saints did the job, didn't they? They were clinical, put the ball in the net, obviously, but apart from that, not much else happened, really, during the game. It was very flat, both sides, and apart from, actually, the Chippenham Town penalty early on, that obviously Richard Matrovic saved and, you know, somewhat redeemed himself from Monday night, nothing much really else to talk about apart from the goals.
Steady on, mate. Steady on. Not entirely a full redemption there, was it? Eh?
We did fumble one by his near post. What did you make of it, Lee? Were you at home or down the boozer again?
God, steady on, mate. Blimey. I was at home. I think it was more poor from the opposition as opposed to us creating anything. Although I do think that Rice's goal was really, really well taken. We just sort of seemed to, I don't know, just didn't really sort of get going, didn't really get out of first gear, but I don't think we really needed to because the opposition was so poor. It was sort of lethargic, and in the last sort of 20 minutes, we started to play a little bit of football, which was nice, but the game was sort of almost gone then. But listen, it's solid performance, professional enough, and 3 points and 3 goals.
That penalty save by Richard Matrovic, that was crucial. If we're going to go down in 5 minutes, following on from Monday's defeat and the poor second half showing, that would have changed the game completely.
Absolutely. Sorry, Lee.
We're apologising for now, mate. No. So, I agree. But the thing is, he did well. The one thing I would say about the goalkeeper, and I noticed this on Monday as well, that he opts to punch the ball quite a lot from deep crosses. And considering that he's a good foot and a half taller than everyone else, and he can use his arms, I'm not entirely sure the need for the punching because it just puts extra pressure. But again, as I say, you know, you can't really criticise a 3-0 win at home too much. But I just don't think we really threatened a great deal. And as you said, Jake, not a lot happened, mate. You know, 2 of our goals came from their defensive mistakes and a brilliant finish from Vice. So take that every single day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. It was noticeable for me that sort of Chippenham, we've had some tough games against them recently. That just didn't seem like the Chippenham side we're normally used to. There was no real passion or drive. The only one that was really any passion was Ross Stern, who had a lot of time on the ball on the left, and he spent a lot of the game actually shouting at his defence. It was quite notable. He was constantly swearing, shouting at them, especially after the first goal. But they just didn't really seem to be that sort of well-gelled side that we're used to down from Harden Hewish Park.
I think he was shouting at the referee as well, Jake, judging by the long chat the referee had with him after the second goal. Vice's goal. Unfortunately, with our camera, it's on a tripod. If they put it on a monopod, they can then point down and we get the whole width of the pitch, and we see when the through ball went through for Vice. But it looked very close to offside, didn't it?
Yeah, so I watched it back immediately after the game, and I think he's about a yard off. Looking back, it's actually a little bit closer than my first time. When I saw it live, I was like, he's well off there. But there's a player on the far side that's a little bit closer.
Wait, hang on, Jacob. You're not being negative, mate, are you, about the club? Because that's going to get you in a whole world of hurt, mate. I've been there, mate. Doesn't end well for you, my friend.
I know, but like you guys said, he took his goal really well. When he went round Puddy and that angle really tightened, I was like, he's going to miss this. But it was a brilliant finish into the opposite corner.
We'll get on to talking about reports later on for a particular reason. Have you seen the NLP report today, Lee?
No, please do enlighten me.
Gave Sean Jeffers 9 out of 10 man of the match. I assumed it for yesterday.
Who was the reporter for NLP?
I haven't got a clue. He doesn't know what he's doing, does he?
I will say that I thought Michael Clark was extraordinary yesterday.
Exactly. He should have got it.
Can I just say, I will add to that, that block he made in the second half was absolutely amazing. And considering
the one made by Tom Bender.
Or that one as well, yeah. But I think the fact that he hasn't played all season as well, which is absolutely fantastic. And he just did the job. He did the simple things really, really, really well, and didn't try to overcomplicate things. No. Top marks, really well done.
He attacked brilliantly as well, didn't he, down the right? He found space. It was similar to that goal he scored for Braintree Town against us, the runs he went on yesterday. And I couldn't believe it was Michael Clark. He just won everything, like you said, did the simplest stuff. Brilliant.
Good. 3 straight wins to start season, first time in 3 years. Plus chuck in a cup win as well, if you want to. Statistically, up to 4th as well, it's looking rather good.
I think we've actually solidly, as a unit, collectively, we've played really, really, really well. Ian's now made us hard to beat, which I think is an asset we're going to need sort of going forward, especially if we do go through a sticky patch and we're not getting the wins, but we're also not losing those games as well. But as you say, Tabs, there, you know, it's a good little run we've got sort of going on. We've got some good players playing in key areas, and long may it continue.
You don't want to get complacent. Next game, it's not till Tuesday week, unfortunately, home to Braintree Town. They made a magnificently consistent start, no points from 4. Got their first goals yesterday.
Well, it's got banana skin written all over it, isn't it? I can't believe they gave our friends Hemel Hempstead 3 points. It's very disappointing.
Yeah, but Hemel gave them 3 goals.
Yeah, true.
Right, are we done on Chippenham?
Yeah, well, there's not much more to talk about, is there? It was just a very strange game.
It was. And we won't see it. By the time of the next game, one would imagine Michael Johnson and David Noble will be fit. So Ian's got a couple more choices to make there.
Yes.
We're going to go back to last Monday again now. Because we're on TV, people could see us from all around the world. So I know you've got some, Jake. Hope you've got some Lee from people around the world. A chap in Spain, Jeff Gould, supported the club since way back when, since before he and his wife Josephine retired out to Spain. They watched it there. In Tbilisi, Nick Moon, one of the first people I got to know when I started going in 1970. He watched it in Tbilisi, unfortunately on an illegal feed, and it disappeared at half time. And it was Nick who acquired that, shall we say, when we were down at Walton and Hersham in 1973. That disappeared off their board, and he kindly got it for me. What about you two? Have you got some viewers from around the world?
Yeah, I've got so the Red Lion Bar in Rhodes. They sent me a message to say that they've got an unofficial St Albans City feed sort of happening in their pub as well. So I did get some stick after the first 10 minutes or so, but they were still watching it, and it was a good advert for the club.
I think on Monday night, the sort of club actually put up a Twitter a poll on Instagram that you could reply to. I think there were responses from Italy, USA, Belgium, Mumbai, Dubai. Just unbelievable, really. I didn't expect it at all. I was like, I mean, surely these people have better things to do with their Monday nights.
We won't see any of that lot again.
we actually had someone yesterday tweeting the club saying they're watching from California. And another one from the Netherlands. So, international appeal of the St Albans City.
Well, presumably the live feed for games, that can go worldwide, can't it?
Yes, it can. I think the National League games are allowed to be streamed around the world online at the minute. So it's a good way of getting extra supporters, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, we must be rolling in money, aren't we? All these different ways we're looking at getting it in. It's magnificent.
Which will lead on.
Actually, our former player, Dave Lawrence, he watched it down in Devon. He our second highest appearance maker, 480 games, played for us in the FA Cup second round in 68 and 80 against Walsall and Torquay. He watched it, enjoyed the first half, didn't know where we went second half. He thought the kit was bloody awful. It's for black shorts and socks with a grey top. It's dull, isn't it? It's not very exciting.
Hey, Chippenham were in grey yesterday, and they didn't really reflect the performance either, did they?
They had light grey all the way down. They didn't have a black on it, which makes it dull and not particularly attractive on TV, but that's by the by. Away kit's an away kit. Why we didn't have our home kit on is, I don't know. Right. We're only a few days away from the next lockdown. We're starting to enjoy these. They're coming along like buses these days. The National League apparently is going to continue, right or wrong?
Well, without a testing regime in place, you don't really see how it can, do you? But it seems by all accounts, obviously, we've got the elite status, the funding secured. I don't think the National League have any plans to stop.
The problem that I've got is that the Wrexham game was called off. I know that there were a load of local games that I'm dealing with. They were called off, all from COVID. You have to imagine that somewhere along the line, it's going to get worse and worse. But as Jake said, the funding has been secured. The clubs have been crying out for the funding. They've got the funding. They've got the elite status, so it has to carry on. But I just don't think it's been given any sort of decent thought at all, really.
Well, of course, our level got the elite status back in the summer so that they could play the playoff matches, which meant all the players from the clubs in the playoff teams were tested. But we've retained that elite as well status without being tested. So it's horrendous. You look back at when Ebbsfleet were down the park after the game, all the players, all the management staff, all the stuff, everybody got in this ridiculous huddle thinking, why on earth are you doing that? I mean, you see it at the other games we've been to, there's huddles, there's big celebrations after goals, and none of these players are being tested. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I wonder if there are some clubs that are doing testing. You wonder if bigger clubs like Ebbsfleet maybe are doing their testing. You don't know. But again, it's not blanket. You know, there's at least half the division, at least if not more, probably aren't doing any testing at all, and it's all based on symptoms. And so it is just at our level, it's sort of just, well, do whatever you want to do as long as no one's coughing or sneezing. They can play. Really, it seems like at the minute.
I think we've got total agreement there in the fact that the National League should come to a halt.
It is worth noting that Dan Rowan, the BBC reporter, tweeted this morning that discussions are ongoing between various sports and the government about getting exemptions, and possible exemptions are for outdoor courts and under 18 sport as well. So it might not be as clear as it looks at the minute.
Under 18, nobody's going to be struggling.
FA Youth Cup winner, of course.
Yes, 1980. No, 1990. Sorry, Nobby.
1980.
Only 10 years out. But that's something I certainly got to look at. In the meantime, of course, we can watch the games. So it breaks up the monotony of it a bit, doesn't it? If you can, but it's not right.
I feel sorry for clubs below us, the steps below. I mean, presume they're going to have to stop, and the likes of Hendon, Harpenden locally how are they going to? Well, they don't know what's going to happen in the next month, do they? It must be so difficult for them, especially you've got players to put on furlough, but then players are on non-contracts. How does that work? It's a big mess that I think we all saw coming several months ago.
I did actually speak to an FA coach of the weekend. I can't mention his name, but the fact is that the elite teams have got that funding, whereas everything from tier 3 down, they don't always require that level of funding because they haven't got the contracts in place. They don't guarantee that sort of match day revenue, which I then said, well, hang on a minute. I know dozens and dozens of great teams below level 3 that do rely on match days, that have got outside commercial opportunities that they do rely on. So again, I do feel sorry for them. I really, really do, because it seems like a knee-jerk reaction that should have happened a few weeks ago, and maybe that extra few weeks could have been used to sort of clarify a little bit more, maybe get a bit more funding to get filtered down to these levels. So it's an absolute mess.
Yeah.
Should they decide to stop football at our level, do the government just say, well, you've got your funding from the lottery. It's nice to know where my losings are going. So you've got that funding, which in our case is going to cover our wage bill. So you can have that money, or you freeze that money, the future payments, until after the end of a lockdown, and we go back to putting the players on furlough.
I mean, I'd have thought that maybe, freezing it and then putting the players on furlough would make most sense, wouldn't it? But again, it's just such a tricky situation that we just don't know where we're going to be. I mean, like you said, Dave, there's a chance that we might not be playing next week because the whole elite status situation isn't clarified yet. So it's just waiting to see. And obviously, we've only been playing for about a month, and already the season there's a chance, maybe a small one, of it coming to a stop.
Because the Premier League clubs, they travel around and they're in a bubble all the time. If we start moving area to area, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
No, not at all. And of course, our players come from all over London, Hertfordshire, Essex, etc. They all live in their own little bubbles. They're just normal people. They have jobs. Unlike the Premier League, who can just go to their training ground every day. Our players have lives, and you can't keep them in bubbles.
Shame the podcasters haven't.
On the on the topic of Harpenden, I believe they're playing Tuesday night at home, aren't they, Lee? And
due to, mate, yeah, they were due to.
So if that game is on and at home and they're allowed to play, I'd say to listeners and viewers, get down there, give them a bit of money, give them a bit of support before lockdown on Thursday.
Yes,
absolutely.
Unfortunately, that game yesterday was off because of a flooded pitch, wasn't it? And yet the afternoon was beautiful.
Yeah, it's a bit unlucky, isn't it, for Harpenden, who I know, have had a great start to the season. So hopefully this doesn't impact them too much.
I think they've lost 3 of the last 4, Jake.
But it was a great defeat the other week.
Fantastic entertainment. Liam Dwyer, we'll come and say hello to you sometime. Would have said hello after that game against Dunstable last week, but when the manager had all the team on the pitch and was bawling them out, and he says, "Get in here, get out of my sight," I thought it's probably best just to leave you alone for a few minutes.
Didn't want him to start to shout at you as well.
No. Enough of that at other clubs. St Albans City have a new strategy, so we learnt during the week.
Which is?
It is to guide or suggest everybody looks at the club's YouTube channel and get the number of hits up to an astronomical number so that the club can make money. And one of the objectives to that was to stop me as a review reporter going to the game yesterday and doing a report. So all my 500,000 readers I would have had over this weekend will all go onto YouTube, and the club's going to be mega rich. You've got a take on the YouTube thing, I think, Lee. You've got a bit more knowledge than I.
If that is the case, mate, that is absolute lunacy. YouTube funding. The way you make money out of YouTube is advertisers predominantly. But to suggest that you're taking away the local media so that everyone is just targeting the YouTube channel is absolute lunacy. That's not how it works. And unfortunately, it is a result of the wrong horses being backed at the club at the minute in terms of applying this sort of knowledge to the owners or to the secretary, whoever it is. I work with media strategists. I work with clubs. I work with social media companies to target key areas where clubs can make money. And if you're solely relying on a YouTube feed, it's not going to work. And unfortunately, if you are, then they often preach this rhetoric about being a community club. That means you need to be inclusive. And at the minute, that's not happening. That is not happening. When you are sitting there and targeting free media who are going to promote your club, and they've told you that you can't come in because they don't want people to read your report, they want to go to the YouTube channel. Absolutely. It's either another level of arrogance or another level of stupidity. There is a fine line there, and this isn't the time to be cutting out free advertising in terms of the Hearts ad and the review.
I can understand people not wanting to read my reports, Lee. And also after the game on Monday at Stortford, Neil at the Hearts ad, he interviewed Tom Bender, then he went to interview the manager, and he was stopped, not allowed to. He said, look, I'll do an embargo. After your interview's gone up, manager's interview's gone on YouTube, I'll do it after that. Nope, wasn't allowed. It's not the way forward, is it? It's tricky for you, Jake, because you're still with the club, but this is a fans podcast, and so what you say, you get a bit of leeway. And as we say, your report went in the NLP this weekend. There was no question of that not going in, was there?
No, as far as I'm aware, there wasn't. No, sort of asked the question and they said no, that's fine. So yeah, so it is tricky for me, but I'm on here as a fan, and I believe as well that the club needs all the advertising it can get at the minute, as do all football clubs. And that is important for, the club as a whole, but also the club within the community, getting that outreach and making sure the club is at the heart of it. And especially during lockdown again, the next month, there's not much going to be happening in St Albans, apart from hopefully St Albans City playing. And you want that in the paper, in my opinion anyway.
I sent a thing out to you at the end of last week, both of you, about the figures you need to hit to make money just purely from hits, and it's astronomical. Even #United, who survive on the internet, they're not reaching the figures to make the big money. But you can also get in advertising in YouTube, which would be another way of bringing that money. But again, you've got to have 4,000 hours of hits within the last 12 months, and you've got to have 1,000 subscribers. 1,000 subscribers may be possible. But you're taking a big risk if that's your way forward.
The one thing I would say, Taz, is that if the YouTube channel works, it can be absolutely massively beneficial to a football club. But we are sort of talking football clubs of a much higher echelon than the Saints. And at the minute, as Jake said, and I know he's in a very difficult situation, but I can't believe that everyone involved behind the scenes at St Albans agrees with this. When you're taking out of the equation the free advertiser and the review, it's just absolutely ridiculous to even comprehend the fact that they're having no local press in the ground whatsoever. I mean, Jake, I don't know whether this is something you can comment on, mate, but are there people who think this is genuinely a good idea, or are the club sort of, targeting, is it down to personal preference about who does the reporting?
I couldn't say really, because obviously I don't know, but I mean, I think there's people at the club who want to trial it as an approach, which I believe they said to you, didn't they, Dave? It was only a temporary matter. I think it is worth promoting I think the Hearts ad did have a reporter there yesterday, maybe stepping in for Neil. Haven't seen the report in the Hearts ad yet, so I don't know if that's definitely there, but I think they did have someone there. So, it's a tricky situation, and it's for me. I'm very open. I'm part of the press. I write for the NLP. Obviously, I've got my part of the club, but I see myself as a amateur journalist. As much as people don't like my.
So do we, mate. So do we. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that, Lee, can you?
Not one bit. Absolutely not.
Could always rely on you two to be supportive, and as part of being an amateur journalist, I'm into the free press, the open press, and that's what I believe in.
Well, the thing is, with this streaming, you've got a great opportunity there to get some money in, but we have live Twitter feed. I got to say, Jake, it's not as good as when you did it. but that doesn't mean you were good. You almost got it up to average, but now, goodness, it's going the other way.
Thank you.
You've got a live Twitter feed. Well, that could stop people from buying the streaming. You have Radio Verulam reporting live from the game. That will certainly stop people from streaming. So the two obvious ones which are in direct conflict with the game as it takes place, they're allowed to go ahead. But we stop the newspapers, which is going to have no impact whatsoever on the hits.
But it will have an impact on the readership and the amount of the community that it will reach ultimately. So when the thing is, I don't think the club are really clear in what they want to achieve by this. They want community engagement, but they're cutting off 2 of the local papers. There's no clarity. There's no thought process behind it. Listen, I am all for the club having these great ideas that are going to benefit eventually, but they need to look at the here and now and how they instigate it and how it relays out to the community. This word community has been thrust down our throats by various TV interviews and by press releases, but I don't see any signs of being a community club at the minute in terms of what they're doing with this YouTube feed and the fact that they've told you not to come into the ground.
I've got no problem at all with the YouTube feed, trying to get it up and get the money in. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever, but you work in unison with the local press. You don't exclude them. That's only one of the things I've lost since the summer. I lost during the filming. Again, no problem with that because it was improved. You got better quality cameras. You got more cameras around the pitch. All right, I did it for free. Club's now having to pay for it, so they've got to get the money in through the streaming to cover it. What else did I lose? Oh, I was taken off the list of people to receive match day photos. Now I've had a report and taken away. I actually said at the end of last week, how about I go to the game Saturday in my role as historian, so I can keep all the stats up to date and everything. And I was told, no, we've got stats on the site, they're fine. So of course I checked them. Second player I got to was wrong. I thought I'll give up there.
What can you do? What can you do? What can you do?
But as we say, nothing wrong with the club looking at ways of bringing in money. But as you keep saying, Lee, we are a community club. In theory, we're not living up to it, though, are we, in practice? And that's got to be looked at. God, we're not finishing early, are we? We can do a quick review of what else is happening in National League South, if you're still with us.
Woohoo!
Well, some incredible results yesterday. We'll ignore Maidstone Concord because Concord haven't really got going in the league. They've only played 3 games, I think. 1 point they got is at home. But what about Hungerford Town? Terrific result yesterday, beating Dorking 2-0. We thought it was a flash in the pan their first 3 games, but they bounced back from defeat to beat Dorking.
It's absolutely brilliant, and it seems to me that a lot of the talk I've seen from opposition fans and sort of staff that have played them or faced them so far, even if they're only viewing it over a live stream, is that it seems to be tactically they're doing something really quite special there at the moment. The manager they've brought in over the summer for, I think, step 4 or 5, I believe he did get them to an FA Vase trophy, his old club. But he seems to have done a brilliant job there, and fair play to them. And obviously as well, clubs like Hungerford, they've probably gained a lot from the money-wise situation. I know Concord signed 3 players on Friday. Obviously that result didn't reflect it yesterday. But clubs like Hungerford, you have to say this season is probably one of their best opportunities to punch above their weight and to be challenging for, well, if it's top 6, top 2, even promotion, you don't know.
Jake, there's only 5 games gone.
No, absolutely. But I mean, Hungerford, how many points did they get last season that they've already got? It's unbelievable.
I think their tally at the moment, they count as points in the bag and 12 points closer to survival. Yeah,
of course. But I think this season has got a chance to throw up so much, so many unexpected results, and I think an unexpected league table.
Dartford remain top. Very good win. Home to Havant and Waterlooville. Steve King, as you said the other week, Jake, you're probably not that bothered about the FA Cup defeat. And there they are, top of the pile, 4 wins and a draw.
Well, it's just Steve King working his magic, isn't it? Lee, we've faced him so many times over the years. We know what exactly he does, don't we? Yeah,
but ultimately, though, it's the fact that the Dartford of old, what they used to sort of do is pick up the points against the lesser sort of sides and often struggle against the top sides, notably us as well. But now that is a good win. Haven't a decent sort of side. They've got some good players there. But one team I also like, if you look at sort of up and coming team, Slough as well. They had a massive win at home to Bath yesterday. Bath also a great side. But I mean, they're sort of creeping up there. They've got a little bit, as Tavs is going to say, only 5 games in, Lee. Yes, you're absolutely right. But you can only win what's in front of you, mate. And ultimately, they're a side that may be challenging for playoffs if we have them at the end of the season.
Only 4 games in for Slough and Bath, actually, Lee.
Oh, sorry, Tavs. There we go.
It's Bath. I was going to come on to them, funny enough, you say it. 3 defeats in 4. Went out the FA Cup early. They've looked good the last couple of years, but, it's a poor start.
Yeah, it's very poor. You don't expect that at all. Bath are always one of those contenders that you always know it's going to be a really tough game, and we don't have the greatest record against them. Obviously, last couple of years we've won down at their place, but it's never enjoyable playing Bath. It's always a difficult experience. So obviously something not quite right. And the manager there, Jerry Gill, he's been linked away quite a few times the last 2 seasons. Obviously, he was linked to Yeovil Town for a while last summer. So you wonder if he's just sort of reaching the end of his time at Bath.
It's funny, isn't it? Last 2 seasons, the last 2 visits to Bath, we've had 6 shots on target and scored 6 goals. So come on, when are we playing them? Hopefully soon.
Clinical, that's what we are.
Hampton and Richmond Borough look to be getting going at last. They gave Oxford City their first defeat of the season with a 2-0 win at Marsh Lane. Ebbsfleet, since we beat them, 2 successive wins. Are they starting to get together? Mind you, Saturday's win was away to Billericay. Another team sublimely consistent, 4 games, 4 defeats.
Yes, I saw a comment on the Conference South forum this morning from a Billericay fan saying Jamie O'Hara is running on fumes now. They suspect he won't be around much longer.
Well, it could have helped themselves. Jake Robinson missed a penalty there, which I think might have put them ahead. A crucial turning point, a familiar theme from yesterday. There's some others as well. Nothing particularly exciting, I suppose. Except Concord. We'll touch on them. Doing well in the Cups, but their league form, it's not happening, is it? And as you say, they brought those 3 players in, Jake, but a 6-0 defeat.
I didn't expect that result at all. Sorry, when I looked at my phone, I was like, "Blimmin' heck, 6-0." I mean, Maidstone, decent side, but Concord, when we played them, they didn't look anything spectacular, but they looked like they just were strong and physical, and they would have been, tough to face this season. But of course, final 20 minutes, we sort of controlled that game with 10 men, and had a chance to win it towards the end. So maybe there is an issue there, but they're bringing in players, and again, the money situation, they should be gaining from it, because immediately after the money was announced, they offered season ticket refunds to all their supporters. So clearly, I don't think they're short of a bit of cash there at the minute. So they're going to have to invest it correctly.
I hope you didn't look at your phone too much yesterday. I believe you sent something interesting. Hello, Tim.
Oh, goodness me! Yeah. Tim is a terrible, terrible man. We have to mention obviously Hemel Braintree, but Braintree, what, bottom of the table, 0 points.
Probably explains why I wasn't at Crowds yesterday.
It's not really a surprise, though, is it?
Scored. It's Hemel's first points, and I did look up Hemel's next match. It's again against somebody lowly. Lowly
in
midweek. Yes, on Tuesday, Hemel Billericay.
Oh, that's a big game. If Jamie O'Hara loses that, I suspect he'll be gone.
Yeah, and Concord are at Dulwich. Dulwich, another side. Since they turned professional at the start of last season, it's all gone wrong.
I listened to another podcast this morning, the Price of Football podcast. They had an interview with the Dulwich Hamlet chairman, and he made the situation sound quite severe at Dulwich in terms of finance at the moment, because they're so unhappy about how much they're losing out. I think it's going to be a very challenging season for them.
See, 11 clubs, is it, have signed up to make a complaint about how the money was distributed. We said there'd be rows, and it's going on. Have you got any more feedback from the clubs, Lee?
No.
They're all keeping quiet.
No, Jake, for that exact reason, mate. When collectively you're in unison with a load of other clubs and you're all making the same sort of noises about how much you're getting or how much you're not getting. Thing is, as you say, some clubs are actually more than happy with their lot. So, and I think the number of clubs that are actually displeased with the amount they're getting is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's when the so-called bigger clubs who feel as though they should get a little bit more, they're going to get sounded out and looking a little bit like dilettantes, really, because imagine what this actually is. It is a virus People are losing their lives and their jobs, and you're worrying about a few extra sort of quid to pay your star player. Lunacy.
Well, of course, the criticism was the clubs in the Premier League. Arsenal laid off a load of staff. I mean, crikey, how much money do you need? And, well, we shan't go down that road. I think most people have got a similar opinion on what happened in the Premier League. Right, and no one's mentioned Ian Hall today. Is he not well? This is up here for you, Ian Hall, if my camera is working. Roy the Rovers shirt. You expressed amazement a few months ago, but we had a tie-up with Roy the Rovers in the early 90s. Leah probably remember it. It's at the time he started supporting the club. And they were shirts we got at the time.
I mean, I've been hunting high and low for a copy of that shirt. I know that there was a fellow on Twitter who posted a picture of Martin Duffield's shirt that he bought at the end of the season. I actually private messaged him and offered him an extortionate amount of cash for it. He wasn't going to have that, but I mean, no, not that one.
Oh.
That's just your raggedy old T-shirt. So yeah, but what a season, Taz. The players on show there. I mean, if you look at it now, Jimmy King, proper wingers. Amazing times. And I think I'm by far not the only one that's been lured in by that whole team of 92, 90, 93, and just amazing times. And the reason why I got involved with the club.
As you say, Martin Duffield, what a player, sent off in his debut. Jimmy King, what a winger. Steve Clark, goal scorer supreme. Forget what about a bloke on the commentary says about Sean Jeffers yesterday. Steve Clark's a man. Even Dean Williams chipped in with 30 goals that season. They were a perfect foil for each other, weren't they? And the centre of midfield, probably the greatest City midfielder you'll ever see, Alan Cochrane.
Ran the show. But it was, I mean, that was a time, though. I know this is sort of harping back, but the time when you had wingers who actually took on defenders, got the cross in, perfect foil for Clarkey. Dean Williams liked to sort of come sort of a little bit deeper. And so it was the perfect partnership. It really, really was. We had a good goalkeeper. We had a solid back line as well. And as you say, Duffield and Cochrane in the middle of the park, absolutely running things. I don't think we could have had a much better midfield partnership since.
Oh, you won't get better than that at all. Centre of defence, you touched on there. Bob Downing, Kevin Mudd. Blimey, no wonder we let a few goals in.
Don't tell Muddy. He'll put some scaffolding up you don't want around your house, Dad.
Yeah, we'll get out tomorrow morning. Right, I think we're pretty much winding down, aren't we?
Yes. We've already annoyed people with talk about the 90s.
Yes, before you were born, Jake, this is a worrying thing, Lee.
Oh, dear.
But the thing is, though, Taz, he looks older than both of us combined, mate, so I'm not even entirely sure.
I look older than anybody down there. I can live with that.
There's no need for that.
Not much longer.
That paper round, mate, that must have been really, really tough on you, eh?
Oh, dearie me.
Oh, he looks older. Oh, right, yeah, I'll go for that, yeah. Okay. Right. Cheers, everybody.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone.
Cheers, Taz. See you later.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.